A program is a series of instructions that cause a computer or a microcontroller to perform a particular task. A computer program includes more than just instructions. It also contains data and various memory addresses on which the instructions work to perform a specific task. Now let's look at different programming languages which we use in embedded systems design. So to write a program, we have to use programming language, isn't it? Note that if your goal is to become an embedded system programmer, then you must be good at C or C++ programming languages, or both. Nowadays, a Rust programming language also has quickly gained popularity and also becoming very much famous in embedded programming. C, C++, Rust, assembly. So these are the main programming languages which are being used in embedded systems. The usage of Python, MicroPython and Java are also rarely used in embedded systems code development. Assembly level programming is very much powerful and it is still being used in various parts of the embedded projects. So it's not like, a C and C++ have completely taken over the assembly level programming. Still, some part of the project is coded in assembly level programming. Now, if you look at the survey of 2017 made by embedded.com, so here is a screenshot of Dan Sack's presentation during the keynote speech. So this video you can find on YouTube. So very much informative video, you should watch it on YouTube. If you look at this slide, you can see that C is still the #1 and highly favored programming language for embedded systems, followed by C++ and assembly. But you can also notice that usage of C may be declining. So in future, C++ and Rust programming languages also have the potential to gain significant popularity in embedded systems programming. But still, C leads in embedded domain. It is one of the most powerful high-level programming languages to write programs for embedded systems. So you can download this survey as a PDF if you want from embedded.com website. Alright, so that gives us some motivation why we should learn C programming language, because it is still one of the leading programming languages for embedded systems. Now let's get started with exploring the C programming language. Let's look at C programming standardization, and we'll also look at some history of C programming language. The C programming language was initially developed in AT&T Labs by Professor Brian Kernighan and Dennis Ritchie, known as K&R-C. So during the year 1970, C programming became very much popular, but without any serious standardization to the language. The non-official standard was called K&R-C, which led to many ambiguities among different compiler programmers, and that actually led to non-portable codes. K&R-C was the first non-official C standard. So in 1989, American National Standard Institute (ANSI) designed and approved first official C standard, which is also denoted by this tag name. And in 1990 it was approved by ISO as International Standard for C Programming Language. So the ISO tag name is this one. So that means the first official international standard was released by ISO in 1990. So that's why it is also called as ANSI-C or C89C or C90 standard. So the language underwent few more changes, like addition of new features, addition of new syntaxes, data types, etc. And newly updated standard was released in 1999 under the ISO tag, this one, which is also called C99 standard in short. So in December 2011, ISO released new standard under this tag name, which is also called as C11 standard. C11 supersedes the C99 standard. So now in this course, we will be using the C11 standard, which is actually compiler default with some compiler extensions. So collectively, we call it as a GNU 11. So more on this, we'll see later, how to change the compiler settings to mention the C standard. So we'll cover this later. So note that if you have written a code using C90 standard, then it will compile without any issues in C99 standard compilation. So that's what we call as backward compatibility. So but if you have written a code using C99 standard specific features, then it may not compile successfully in C90 compilation. So you should keep this in mind, but don't worry about this. So we'll see how to set the standard in the compiler later. From the next lecture onwards, let's get started with programming. So let's start with the Hello World program, and I'll see you in the next lecture.